Hello and welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Christina, and this week's video I really wanted to share a no-sew, no-knit blanket, as well as how I've started my walk-in closet in this old 130-year-old historic home. I'm going to talk you through all the details as well as the supplies, so let's jump into the video. I headed over to my local Fabricland and trying to find a perfect fleece blanket idea. I wanted to try something really simple. Huge selection in patterns and solids that you can choose from. I wanted to try a double-sided with two different colors of fleece. For my first project ever working with fleece, I'm going to try something very simple. So you're going to need good fabric scissors, a ruler, and some painter's tape. And these are the two colors, very basic, that I chose from. My little cat, Dimitri, is a Sphynx cat, and he loves to curl up in blankets. We also have little fleece coats for him, so I figured this would be a perfect little project to try just for him. He definitely loves his little warm pockets. I purchased two different colors in 2.5 meters each. Now what I want to do is actually cut it, so I have 2 meters in each, and I'll use the extra for another project. I found the easiest way to cut was to use the painter's tape and a ruler just so I can make straight cuts for the blanket. You can make all different sizes when it comes to a throw blanket like this, but I've decided to go with a bigger one at 80 inches long and 60 inches wide. Both different colors of fleece that I bought, I'm going to have to cut them at 2 meters to start this blanket. As I mentioned, using that painter's tape will keep it nice and straight when you're making your cuts. There's a back side and a front side to the fleece. You'll want the back sides to face into each other when you're making the blanket. So I'm just going to pull both of them together as equally as I can and lay them flat on the floor. This way I can cut all of the edges all the way around the blanket, because both of my cuts are not going to be exactly the same, and this will make it equal. So I'm going to reuse the painter's tape again, and this way again I can make it nice and straight for both of them at the same time. This was a very quick and easy, simple project to do. The nice part about fleece is it doesn't fray. Now I'm going to make a 2 by 2 inch corner cut on all 4 corners of the blanket. I found it super helpful to make sure that I had really good fabric scissors. This way my cuts were nice and clean and straight. I've never worked with fleece before, so this was a great project, and it was quick and easy, and it's a great beginner friendly to make a really nice throw for a lot of different purposes, even outside of your pets. Now I want to make some fringe all the way around this blanket. What I'm going to use is the painter's tape to indicate another 2 inches away from the blanket. I'm also going to use the tape to make 1 inch markings all the way around the blanket. This will allow me a guide, so that way when I make the cuts, it'll be nice and even and the symmetry will be there. I also found using the tape made my lines nice and straight. Now I can make nice clean cuts 1 inch apart all the way around the blanket, just using the indicator marks that I've used on the tape. If you wanted to make this project only using 1 sheet of the fleece, you could do that as well and still have a good outcome. I just thought by using the 2, it was actually going to make it thicker and a little bit more plush. Now with all of the little fringe tabs that I've made, I'm going to cut a little slit right into the center. I found it easier to fold each of the little tab fringes that I've made into half, and right into the center I would make a little cut that was probably about 1/2 inch. The fun part about this project is you don't have to worry about the fleece fraying. Once I completed all the cuts all the way around the blanket, what I'm going to be doing is taking the left tab, then the right, so the right side goes into the left, and you're just going to pull it up. That's all you're going to do all the way around. So we're actually braiding this fray fringe that we've created. So take the left tab and put it into the right tab hole, and you're going to do this all the way around the blanket, and I'll show you how to do the corners. Because each fringe that you've created is being braided into the next, that's what's actually holding both of the fleece pieces together all the way around the blanket. But again, you're just taking that left tab, holding it up, take the right tab, and you're going to push it through the little slit that you've created. It's that easy. It goes along very, very quickly. Again, this blanket really whipped up very quickly. Mine's a little bit on the larger size, for a throw blanket, but it only took me a couple of hours to make it at this size. When you're getting to the corners, you're doing the exact same thing. You're lifting up that left side tab and putting the right one in it and lifting it back up, grab the right, and really you're just making kind of a curve to your fringe and your braid all the way around the blanket. Once I got down to the very last one, I proceeded on from the left to the right and then I tied them into a knot. And this will help secure the blanket. There's a little extra stretch and give to the fleece fabric, so I recommend actually just giving everything a little bit of a stretch once you've made your braided fringe all the way around. Using the same technique, you could even make some throw pillows. When I originally moved into this house a few months ago, I have been waiting so long to change this closet. It's too dark. It feels really dusty in here. There is a door on the other side of this shelving unit, and it's not for me. I think this space could be just so much brighter. And I don't like the fact that we have a door completely blocked off by a built-in cabinet here. I jumped on Pinterest for some inspiration, and I was thinking of something that was open and airy, something that would definitely feel like a boutique almost, and then also even be able to add some artwork and some shelves in the future. I was even thinking maybe a vanity would be nice. The biggest thing is lots of natural light if possible, and easier to clean, and that way I can see everything. I think this is an IKEA, that closet unit, and it was built in 2006. The problem that I have with this is that you can't really clean around it, and it looks like it's a great unit for storage, which I'm sure it is, but for clothes I feel like I can't maximize or see what it is I have. So taking this out definitely felt a lot more airy. And it took quite a while to take this down because it's about 10 feet. The room is 12.5 feet in height. So it was a little bit awkward, but over a couple of days we were able to knock the whole unit out of there. It took us a couple of days to get this down to the Habitat for Humanity so that way it could be recycled and used for another purpose. The room just felt really grungy, and I was so thankful to be able to take all of this out because when we did finally take it all out, I was just completely blown away how much dust and everything gets in here because it was actually kind of designed so that way when it sat on the floor, it kind of anchored there. It took me an entire day from ceiling to floor to scrub and clean and vacuum this whole thing out so I could get it ready for painting. I'm going to be using the Regal Select in Ultra Matte by Benjamin Moore, and I'm going to be using the same color as I used in the bedroom, which is the London Fog. And I'm going to be using the Onyx, which is a really true rich black for all of the trim. Now, because I'm going into one room into another, I was able to save my ceiling paint roller, but I had to go all around the picture frame to the ceiling by hand, and I'm using the Benjamin Moore in Chantilly lace because I still have a little tiny bit left, and I'm just really trying to utilize how much paint I have before I go and buy any more. The Chantilly lace color, which is a pretty white, bright color, is very comparable to a ceiling white. But like I said, I just really like to recycle up what I have before I go and purchase some more. The ceiling took 2 full coats, but I have to admit, with all the painting that we've been doing in the house, I think we just needed a day off. It's January, it's cold, there's not a lot of sunshine, so sometimes you just need to get in the car and enjoy a day with no real itinerary. Just go out, breathe, enjoy your outdoor surroundings. I too sometimes in the January and cooler months of winter have a hard time staying more motivated and directed. So I find if I just give myself a day off or an extra day off here and there, it really helps, and it really can help your energy. Plus, having Hatley and Raphael wanting to be out playing really motivates us to stay out in the sun too. So don't feel bad if you have the January blahs, because that's exactly what I have. I prefer to paint with a paintbrush, and when I do paint, I always remove the paint from the one side. This way I don't drip it onto the floor. One of the main reasons I like to use the paintbrush is because a lot of this house is actually made with plaster. And that surface is a little bit different than painting on drywall. As you can see, there's a lot of little dimpling that's into plaster. It can look smooth, but when you get up close and personal, it's a little bit different versus painting on drywall. So I find using a really good synthetic brush, and I love the Woosters, and you can get those at Home Depot, and most paint supply stores will carry it. I find that I can get a really good coverage, and I have to put less coats on when I do it this way. I also do it for therapy as well. But one thing I will say, when you're painting anything, even furniture, it's really important that you hold your brush comfortably. And the one advice I always say is make sure you don't hold your brush too tightly, because if you hold it by the handle or you're holding it too tight, all the little muscles inside your hand will fatigue out way faster. So even if you're using a brush or a roller, just make sure you're not holding it too tightly. I have to admit, for all the rooms that I've done so far, this definitely took the longest. I was actually quite surprised. But I have a feeling it was because of all the stuff that we had to remove out of this room before we could start painting. So it was definitely a little bit of a drawback, but we're back on track. And Dimitri loves his new blanket. I'll have to see if I can stitch up some new jackets for him too. So I just proceeded on, made sure to get a full coverage, and I'll be honest, I can get a full coverage in painting this way just using one coat, but sometimes you may need two, depending on the colors you're using. So my husband Ryan's going to help me with new bar rods across this closet, and we want some really good grade ones because it's going to be holding a lot of weight. And I want to utilize the height of this room as it is 12 feet. So we purchased some closet rod flange sets separately, and I wanted something that was going to be strong and sturdy, as it's going to be going from one side of the closet to the next, holding a lot of clothes. And my husband came up with a really good idea because I think he felt bad on how much I cleaned in this room. So he's actually using a little bag that he can tape to the wall to collect all the dust, because when you go into plaster, it actually crumbles and makes a lot of dust. So just using a power drill and a drill bit for the screw sizes that you're going to need for your project. And you want to be careful when drilling into plaster as well. You want to be very straight, and you don't want to force it, because you can actually crack plaster walls versus drywall. So it's just something we've learned in this old heritage home. Everything we've picked up, I've actually gotten at the Home Depot, so a lot of your local hardware stores are going to carry these kind of supplies. This is actually the rod adapter to go to the wall, but we're going to be using it for a different purpose. And I picked up an adjustable closet rod, and I wanted something that was steel construction because it's going to be holding a lot of weight. So we wanted to test it out first, but we're going to be using the mountable plate that came with the rod, actually put it back in and screw it to the wall. This way it will stop the rod from spinning around when you put hangers and etc. on it. So I actually wanted to put up 2 closet rod extenders. And as you can see, the little bag really does help with all that dust. But we wanted to gain enough support because looking for all of the clothes, you're going to need something that could carry up to 200 pounds, because believe it or not, your clothes do weigh a lot. Now to wallpaper, it's never been so easy. Clear wall covering adhesive, new and approved. It's fantastic. It's all ready to go. You can use any kind of wallpaper, and you don't have to have all of the water and the paste and the mix. Everything's pre-done, and you actually only need the small container because that's actually going to cover a whole room, but that's the smallest size I can get. I wanted the room to have a little bit more texture to it, and I wanted to keep it light and airy, so I thought this wallpaper design was kind of perfect. Wallpapering is a great way to add dimension to a room, and with all the colors and patterns out there, sky's the limits on designs and preferences. A couple of really easy tips when you're going to apply wallpaper, and the biggest thing is the rule of working with physics. Now this is a 130-year-old home, so nothing in this house is straight. So what you're going to be doing is 1 to 2 inches of extra wallpaper from the top to the sides and to the bottom. And the reason is because you're going to create the illusion that the wall is straight. Once you got the wallpaper on, what you're going to be doing is you're actually just going to use an X-Acto knife. And with that X-Acto knife, you're going to be able to cut that 1 to 2 inches you've left all the way around your wallpaper. Whether you live in an old home or you live in a newer home, all walls are not necessarily straight, from the floors to the ceilings. So this is the safest way to get a nice, even, straight cut. And the paste already goes all the way to the edge. So it comes right off, it's nice and smooth, everything's nice and seamless. So we carried on. The biggest thing is to find the wallpaper pattern that matches. Now it's a repeat pattern, so you just have to match up as you keep going down with your sheets. I'm actually currently studying how I can make my own wallpaper designs and then use lining paper on how I can actually stamp it and create it for myself. So that will be in an upcoming video. But as I say, wallpaper is really, really easy. It does kind of go a little bit faster when you have 2 people because you have somebody who can paste and somebody who can cut. Now I want to add some mirrors, possibly a piece of furniture and some shelving, but I haven't decided, and I kind of want the whole space to be a little bit cohesive. I do love having hooks in my closets, whether it's the back of the door or it is a hook rail, such as one of these. I picked these up at Home Depot, there's 2 of them. And I like having these because this way I have a place to put belts and scarves and bags and other things, and it's neat and it's tidy and it doesn't collect dust. So a lot of the function of what I'm doing with this closet is because I want to be able to clean in here a lot easier. So that's why I want to be a little bit careful about what I put in here as the future goes on. But I'm really happy with the start, and I'm really happy with where this is going. I don't think when you're making a room makeover or even a closet makeover, you need to do everything at once. Start with your basics and then graduate it from that. Because what happens is we end up making spontaneous purchases, and sometimes we're not always happy with them. So you want to kind of curate everything so it has a flow and works best for you. So again, using that Ultra Matte in the Regal Select, I'm going to put the Onyx Black all over my trims and my door. And this is going to run cohesive with what I've already done in the bedroom. And I'm going to leave the card for the video that I did for the bedroom makeover that leads into this closet. Using the painter's tape is a great way to make faux straight lines. Again, rooms shift, wall shifts. So what you're going to do is overlap your painter's tape, and this is going to help give that illusion of a nice straight line. So I have learned in an old home, when plaster meets wood frames, there is a lot of irregularity. Because the transition from the plaster to the frame is not smooth, you kind of have to create a faux line. To create straight lines is I fold the torn side straight and then overlap it. And this is going to help me kind of go around my frames. You can use scissors if you want, but I just find it easier rather than having all those little cut pieces of tape everywhere. So I'm creating the illusion of a faux straight line all the way around the framing. And because I'll be painting it black, I'm going to show you the difference between using a sheen or a gloss paint versus the matte paint. In a newer home, I would generally actually use, say, a semi-sheen or even a light gloss paint because it actually kind of highlights a little bit when you're doing frames. But with an older home, there's so many imperfections. I find the matte finish to work brilliant because it actually deflects the light so you can't see all those little imperfections. But it's just a matter of choice and whatever works best for your home. I am constantly cleaning and dusting, and between gloss paint and matte paint, I've never had any issues when it comes to using a matte finish on my trims, door frames, and windows. If you're ever taking a break, please, when you're using wall paints, just put them in a plastic bag because if they start to dry out a little bit, it really just kind of bunches up on the bristles and it's really hard to get that nice slick feeling going again. One of my favorite effects about using matte paint is when it dries, it actually is almost a streak free, which is a beautiful look, and it has such a modern look to it. So that's why I've been using a lot of the matte-like finish paints throughout the home. When you're using a really good angle brush, you can really get around things without having to use too much tape. Not that using the tape doesn't feel satisfying to remove to get that nice straight line, but it does eliminate how much taping you have to use. Now, because I have a lot of natural light inside a closet space, which is a huge, huge blessing, I would like to create a little bit more privacy to it, similar to how our bathroom is. So using that window film is absolutely perfect. They even carry a stained glass effect, so you can kind of even get a rice paper effect, but I'm going to go with just the straight film because I can buy a bigger amount for a cheaper price, because I'm also going to replace the one that's in our bathroom because our windows are so big. So you're going to use the window film application solution, and a couple of reasons for that. This was pretty straightforward to put on. Basically, you're going to be cutting the size of the window you're going to need. With the window film, you're going to cut the measurement of the window, but you're also going to be leaving about an inch, maybe 2 inches, all the way around your cut. The reason for that is so that way you can get a precision cut. So I'm applying the spray-on application solution to reduce the static. So when I remove that outer layer, the spray is on both sides, and when I pull it down, the static won't kind of allow the film to fold in on itself while you're trying to place it onto the window. We are also using a flat squeegee just to pull the window film down and reduce the amount of air bubbles. You're also going to need an X-Acto knife, just like you did with the wallpaper. And if you add 1 to 2 inches around your window measurements, this will help get those precision cuts. It's actually super fast and easy to do. The main reason I wanted it is this way I can have the window blind open, you can still get dressed in there, and you can't see that it's a closet from the outside of the house. You can also find something flat to help remove any of the additional air bubbles. But as you can see, we have it in the bathroom, and it actually looks nice and cohesive from the exterior of your home. But because the closet is above our main entrance, you can see from the road that you can't actually see inside the room. So this is perfect for light balance as well as privacy. With a lot more to continue to make it cohesive, I'm pretty happy with the results, and this was a great way to start. Thank you so much for watching this week's video, and please, if you have any questions and or comments, leave me a comment in the comment box below. All the supplies that I've used in this video will also be found in the description box below. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. That's going to tell you when I upload my next video. I have so many more fun DIYs, room makeovers, and furniture transformations to share with you soon. Until then, take care. I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon. Did you want to say hello? Is it that time? I'm trying to say hello. Can we make a video on how to groom poodles? Doing. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. Yeah. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. That's going to tell you when I upload my... What's going on? Would you like some? Oh, I know. Okay. Next week's video will be dog grooming. Doggy dip and clip. Barks and bubbles.